Hello, SuperX here. Today I've been especially asked by Dino Dude to cover some very specific cases of superhuman activity. So, here we go. As we at the Imagination team have learned more and more about the multiverse, we have discovered this thing called universal constants. Basically, these are specific events or people that exist in every universe. One of these universal constants is that every universe contains some version of North Claw, though many universes may know him better as Santa Claus or Father Christmas. In my universe, however, North Claw is commonly believed to be the first official superhero. All the way back in 340 AD, a Christian saint named Nicholas took up work as a vigilante, specifically freeing children from forced slavery and granting them gifts. However, on one of these missions, he was captured and set to be executed. However, according to legend, while he was sitting in a cell, an angel appeared to him. The angel gave him a myriad of powers, including enhanced strength, speed, agility, and the ability to create frozen claws of ice on his wrists, hence his name. After escaping the prison, he continued his good work throughout the rest of his life. But though Nicholas died, North Claw did not. Before his death, Nicholas passed on the abilities to another man, and when he died, he passed them on as well. As such, the name and abilities of North Claw has gone through many hosts over the years. I have a list here that names several of the previous hosts, including men named Edwin Gwynn, Douglas Seal, Ed Asner, Mickey Rooney, Richard Attenborough, and Kurt Russell, though most recently the title has been taken up by a man named Scott Calvin. As long as you don't count the time, he was taken prisoner by the Pumpkin King and had his powers stolen. Though many have worn the mantle over the years, it appears North Claw will always be coming to town. Hey, it's been a while since I've actually had time to do design notes, so I actually get to do design notes. So for this I wanted to do a very bog-standard superhuman thing with basic armor, her. I also wanted to draw some inspiration from mine, obviously Santa Claus, but for the lore mostly I drew inspiration from the historical Saint Nicholas and the legend surrounding that. I also I took inspiration from modern Santa Clauses, mostly the Santa Claus from Christmas Chronicles, that general design. Also obviously taking inspiration from the old stop-motion Santa Claus, which is where the red beard comes in. But yeah, overall, I actually like this. I think this might be one of the best superheroes I've ever drawn on the channel, and I hope you enjoy. The next hero whose file I looked over was one that often worked with North Claw. Red Rudy was the son of a superhero named Dunderstruck, who himself was part of a superhero team known as the Slay Team, a group of 8 humans who, as children, were taken and experimented by, of course, Evansburg Bioengineering, the company behind Project Amanda and Blast Boot. 8 children were pumped full of several alien and animal genes that gave them the power of supersonic flight, as well as antlers on the top of their head. Thankfully, they then used their abilities to escape and have been fighting crime ever since. However, complications from their genetic alteration began to rear their ugly heads when Dunderstruck had his first child. The strange genetic experiments his father had gone through, who had affected his child, who had been mutated into having glowing red skin, and I'm not exaggerating. If you ever saw it, you would ever say it glowed. Like a light bulb. This didn't do anything to harm the child, but it did make him stick out in a crowd. Even worse, when Dunderstruck tried to take Rudy on missions, his glowing red skin would often draw fire to him. He was more than capable of dodging the blasts, but Dunderstruck, being protective of his child, would no longer let him join any more missions. That was until one foggy Christmas Eve, when the villainous Dr. Freeze, a villain that I myself have fought before, launched an unexpected attack. He released a massive blizzard at the Slay Team, blocking their vision. Then, soon, the cold began to wear at them, and from the shadows, blasts of ice froze them solid. Soon, the only team member not turned into a frozen statue was Dunderstruck. A blue beam of light. Heat was quickly fired in his direction, but was blocked by glowing red light. Rudy had taken the hit and was completely fine. It turned out that his glowing red skin not only made him highly visible through the dark blizzard, but could also radiate heat, making him immune from the frozen blasts. Rudy then took down Dr. Freeze and freed the frozen sleigh team, all of whom loved him and shouted yippee. Rudy, from then on, went down in history. Why did you make that last section rhyme? Okay, now we are on to some villains. First is a villain that is actually quite related to our last story. You see, during the battle between Rudy and Dr. Freeze, there were, unfortunately, several civilians caught in the crossfire. This included a young boy and his grandmother, who were out doing some last-minute holiday shopping. However, they, along with the rest of the city, were soon frozen solid. They could have survived this, but during the fight, Dr. Freeze threw Rudy into the frozen statues. While the grandmother was injured by this, her grandson was much, much worse. The boy had died, completely shattered. However, the grandmother was not going to take this lying down. For you see, she wasn't any ordinary old lady. This particular old lady was an ex-CIA who had specialized in taking down enhanced threats, that being supervillains. However, she was let go for being emotionally and mentally unstable. Using her skills, she quickly broke into her old government facility and stole back her gun and armor, and has been hunting down Rudy ever since. We have one last story for today, and oh no. Oh yes. Do I have to cover this one? Yes. Yes, you do. Ugh, fine. This next villain is kind of my fault. So, one winter morning, I was sent on a mission to collect some magical artifact that had been causing some issues. I wasn't given that much of a description, but was told I'd know it when I saw it. And sure enough, I did. A street magician named Professor Hinkle had somehow gained legitimate magical powers, and had been using them to cause havoc throughout his city. I managed to defeat him and took away the source of his newfound powers, an old silk hat. At first, other than the ability to grant the users magical powers, it seemed insignificant. I placed it on a table in my ship and started flying back to the headquarters. However, the hat had other plans. Once it was placed on the table, teal vines began to release from the hat and spread across the table. The table then began to move. It appeared that this hat could bring whatever it was placed onto to life. The table rushed at me and began to try to kill me. I was fortunately able to destroy the table, which I'm not paying you for, by the way, and in a moment of panic, I threw the hat out the window. I then realized what a dumb decision that was, and followed the hat, trying to track it down, which I soon did when I heard the loud cry of screaming children. A giant snow monster rose from the earth and began trying to attack the children who had built it, and of course, it was wearing the hat. Apparently, these kids had found the old silk hat and placed it on the head of the snowman they'd built. I quickly put my hand into a nearby fireplace and absorbed its power. I shot flame after flame at the creature. It did not kill it, but did succeed in driving the creature away. However, before he left, he made one final threat, that he would be back again someday.